Hello everyone and welcome to, I guess it's Sunday show and tell. Last video I did when I was showing you the first Ricky sketchbook, I do believe I said, see you next week, and what, it's been like a month now? Oh well. Don't trust me when I say timing, unless I'm actually starting to post weekly, working on that, but that may not start till June. Anyways, so I am planning to start doing like a Sunday show and tell kind of show. Of course, the joke is I'm filming this on Saturday because it's chore day, and would I rather film a video to post tomorrow, or would I rather actually clean my house? Well, I think we know the answer. Anyways, last time it was the first Ricky B. Rat sketchbook, but as I don't have any other sketchbooks finished, except for one that gives spoilers about a graphic novel project that I'm nowhere near close to having done, I thought I would show something else, and that is some of the ceramic mugs. And well, this one's a mug, the others kind of, even this one is more of a pencil holder, but ceramic vessels that I've been making in a hand-built ceramics class I'm taking with Jennifer O'Brien in Ladysmith, and that has been ongoing for 2 years now, something like that. So, and with all my stuff, I'm not going to show the stuff where I really like followed what's in class and didn't add my own cartoon motifs to them. But the stuff that is like all tricked out, I'll do a few. I've got these mugs and some little figurines and whatnot. And also, I'll say right off the bat, this is not a sales video. Y'all can't have these. These are mine. And they're all filled with pens, despite the number that there are. I still have pens kicking around randomly that I can't find the specific one I'm looking for. So, no, these are part of my studio decoration / failed attempt at organization process. So, get your own. I don't have them for sale. I may at some point, I may have merch for sale at some point in the future, but it probably won't be handmade merch like this. I might like take an image of my characters and have like Printify slap it on a mug or something like that. But the hand built stuff, these are for my own special. Anyways, so with that out of the way, let's go on. Now this is the first of the mugs I did. It features Myles. Myles Maarav. We've seen him before in different reels that I've posted and whatnot. You can tell this is an early Myles because he has earrings. Myles doesn't have earrings anymore, but in the earliest days, when it was a little closer to him having been developed out of that Bono Mouse sketchbook project, he still had earrings. Now the earrings are, different rat characters in Ratland have earrings, like Baby Ratson, Ricky's girlfriend, has earrings, but, she has them both at the bottom and wears dangly. But this particular one low, one high, that's only for Ricky B. Rat nowadays. So anyways, on with that. So you can tell this is a handmade, and also not by a professional because it's lumpy, but hey, I went with that and I added, there's a little tools you can get that have like a steel ball on either end that you can impress in. So I used those to give some cheese texture and kind of went with the improper, cheese can be crumbly and the mug is made of cheese. Well, not really, but that's what it's evoking. So we've got Myles grinning, and I'm going to try and zoom in to see how much detail we can get in focus. Maybe I can't. Is that kind of... You can see the line work, but I think it doesn't really show. Maybe a little bit here if it catches the light. Sort of. I don't know. I can't tell in the viewfinder. I think you can almost see that there's a divot. So what I did when I was making this, I made the cylinder and then you attach the bottom and all that sort of. I'm sure there's tutorials on how to hand building ceramic mugs from people who are far more competent at it than I am. But once the thing was set up, I then used a small tool. Maybe you can sort of see it in the... Trying to catch the light a little bit. Yeah, maybe there you can kind of make out some lines in his hair. But I used a small tool to scratch out the cartoon. And this is obviously when it was still greenware. His name, did I scratch out the name? Yeah, I kind of did. Again, I don't know how well that shows in the camera, but I can kind of see divots. The back, though, the All Hail the Giant Cheez, I didn't do that with the scratching. That was in the painting. So then the mug gets fired. Well, and then attach the handle, which, as you could tell, I gotta be careful because I'm wanting to pull it close to the camera and then it gets out of focus. You could tell that it's not well done. I am not good at attaching handles. Sorry. Not sorry. And that's why you'll see this is the only one that has that. Anyway, so it gets bisque fired, it comes back, and the painting is all done with underglaze. And then after it was painted, the instructor put the glossy on top for the final firing. And I guess the bottom to the 2023. Does that show? I can't tell. I can't tell. That's the thing with these viewfinders. Maybe, I don't know. It does say my name, Pyra, and then 2023 on the bottom. So, anyways, point is, when I was painting, I then found my little scratched out cartoon outlines, and I filled them in. So then that's, of course, because underglaze is basically just liquid colored clay, so that fills in some of the divots. Some of them you can't even, on this one, you can, again, I can kind of see, I don't know if the camera picks up, but you can sort of see a divot in his glasses there. And otherwise it's kind of been filled in with the black and then the gloss, so goes into the kiln, gets fired, all that. So the All Hail the Giant Cheez comes from a cartoon. I think I might have specifically talked about All Hail the Giant Cheez in my Mono Mouse sketchbook, but there is a cartoon of a little mouse dude raising his arms, looking up to a floating piece of cheddar above his head, and he is saying, "All Hail the Giant Cheez." So, and for some reason, none of them can spell cheese correctly in this world. Anyways, so there's that, and the inside... Let's see, I kind of... Because I think with this one, I didn't have like a pre-mixed orange underglaze, so I was mixing myself with red and yellow, and then I probably had extra red, so I put that more on the inside and then tried to have it kind of... Some spots are a little too yellow, some are a little too red, but gives that, gives a detailed, dimensional, let's say, cheese texture to the mug. So, this sits on my bookcase of art supplies and has little roller dowel thingies, and sometimes the little ball tools for making those dents live in there, but they tend to live, all my ceramics tools tend to live in a little case that stays in my trunk, so that when I get to pottery class, I know I have it with me and I haven't left it at my house. So, mug number 1. I'm not going to go in chronological order from here because I'm not entirely certain of the chronological order, other than I think the next one, I do believe this one is the second one. And this is my main cartoon dude, Noah. And this is same process, right? Hand-built ceramics. You make the tube, and if I pull this around... Again, I don't know if I... Let me see if I can zoom in. That's too out of focus. That maybe is in focus. But there's kind of a rough spot in here, which is where it was seamed over and then you smoothed it together. And this one isn't super great. I'm not great at getting... Yeah, come on, Pyra. It's like dyslexic moving hand. But the seam at the bottom, I am not super great at getting that even and, smoothed enough that I would trust it to hold liquid. But as I said, I use these as pencil holders. So, anyways, otherwise the process was the same. You can tell I decided to not use a handle. And I went with a couple cartoons from Noah's Archipelago. Let me tilt that up a little bit. So this is one where he was reaching into his bag. He's got, it's from a couple Augusts ago, August 2023, I guess. Did I? No, I didn't even bother to sign it on the bottom. Heh. Well, I mean, I know. It's kind of obvious which mugs are mine, right? Anyway, so he has a gig playing at like 8 a.m. for the local car club's show and shine. So he's sleep deprived. He's reaching into his bag while his daughter Ursula is asking him annoying questions. So he's a little peeved as he's reaching in to find his tambourine and whatnot, getting ready for the gig at sound check at, 9:30 in the morning, 9 a.m. in the morning. So that's why he looks pissed off. And we kind of tried to get a bit of a watercolor effect, which I think is sort of effective. Because if you do, if you have, two coats, you're definitely getting a solid. But I was, for those of you who are familiar with Noah's Archipelago, and I'll put the links in the description, I mean, I do it on the iPad, but I use a, can I get my fingers in to do air quotes? Marker brush to get this sort of effect even in the iPad where it's uneven color on his clothing and whatnot, and then skin and hair, I use a different brush that's 100% opaque. But anyways, I wanted to kind of match that with my paint job here, which means in a lot of places there's only the one coat, like here. That's only, here, once I get it out of the shiny reflection, that's only one coat of the underglaze, and that's more like two. So I was trying to get that kind of a watercolory thing. He's got some stars in there, and we kind of go, now he's on this image. Now he is at his gig, and he's happy, he's singing, he's on stage, he's getting attention. So there he is, he's singing, he's smiling now. And, you turn around, and I did label it saying Noah Thorsen. And his little, again, stars and musical notes, and now he's back to being pissed off, reaching into his bag again. The inside, this one I didn't really do anything interesting in. It's just kind of a pink that was left over because I mixed up a little too much of that pink. So, that is the second mug, Noah. And this has, usually it has a lot of black fine liners that I use in the marker sketch cartoons. So, now I'm trying to guess which is the next one. Of course, ones that you can't see yet because they're just out of camera frame. That's the most that there is the most recent one. We'll do that last. I think Ricky Angel was the next one. So, my main man Ricky, we have met him. We have met him a lot. If I move, it's funny. I want enough light so you can see it because this corner of the studio is a bit of a dungeon. But if I have too much light, then this all gets blown out in the reflection glare. So we got Ricky. This motif of him with the angel wings and halo came off of somewhere on my channel. There will be a short, and I'll try and remember to link it, of me doing a monotype with Akua inks on plexiglass plate. Monotype printmaking of Ricky with the angel wings and all this. And the joke, of course, being that, the wings and the halo are painted on the wall behind him. He's just positioning himself carefully. But anyway, so we've got the wings, and again, exact same. Make the vessel, scratch in the cartoon while it's still wet. Then Caspisk fired, then I use a fine brush to paint in the details and the color and all that. And this one also, we can kind of tell there's a little bit of, this has some cheese texture in the background, of course, because, Ricky's into cheese. He's really into cheese, particularly cheddar. So we scroll around here, and he's got his little prayer hands and all that. This other angel wing. And then on the back, well, it says Ricky B. Rat, but also that looks suspiciously like what are they called? Amanita muscari? The hallucinogenic mushrooms? Well, Ricky's into hallucinogenic mushrooms. I don't know how, if this picks up very well. That is like a very like pale lime green. In the viewfinder it looks lemon yellow, but I assure you it is green. I guess I'll see when I'm editing the video if the color is accurate or not. Can I bring it up here? Yeah. If I bring it up here, you can kind of see it. Maybe when I'm holding it back here, you can see it too, and my viewfinder's just stupid. I don't know. I may be complaining about things that don't matter. Now, the dots in... Well, I might as well bring this up again. I don't know how well this shows, but the dots in the mushroom top, I used very tiny versions of those bowl tools, or actually I might have used the butt end of a paintbrush, small paintbrush or something to make those divots. And then I was just very careful with painting over top that the red didn't get into too many of those divots. I mean, I got into a few. So anyways, it says Ricky B. Rat. And then we have a couple mushrooms on the ground, and there's Ricky harvesting the mushrooms. Oh, see there, the grass looks kind of green. And that's kind of taken from the first of the marker cartoons that I posted on the Ricky Facebook. Because I'd already been writing Ricky stories and working on a Ricky graphic novel, and I thought, well, I actually really need to... Well, and I had been posting some cartoons, just like quick pen sketches from that sketchbook that was the last show and tell video. And then I kind of set it aside because I was working on the graphic novel, and then that was taking longer than I thought. And I thought, well, what I should probably do is start doing cartoons every week. I know. I have not actually posted Ricky cartoons every week, but trying to post them every week and do them with markers, just quick sketchbook cartoons. But one of the first one was for Easter of 2024, and Ricky is picking shrooms and filling a little basket with them, and Myles is standing behind him saying, "Ricky, those are not Easter eggs." And Ricky smiles and says, "Shut up, Myles." Because he knows they're not Easter eggs. That's the whole point of gathering them. Anyways, so kind of working off that motif as well. So, and then we got his tail. And the tail I use, I think my instructor has the speedball underglazes. So one coat of pink for the ears and the tail. And sometimes, I think this one, it's actually, I mixed that pink with white to mute it even more. Because if you compare to how bright the ears are and tail are on the Myles mug, you can kind of tell a difference. That's a little too bright pink for tails. This was probably, because that's the first one I did, I wasn't sure of the color. That's probably 2 coats. This would either be 1 coat or it's 2 coats, but it's cut with white. So, anyways, and then we got his tail wiggling, a couple of little fine lines, and then back to Ricky the Angel. So that's, I guess, the third one. Another one is a little bit different because we were doing like kind of mugs, but kind of sculptural, where you, when it's wet, you hold the bottom and I'm already showing, and you kind of push out from the inside. So I wanted to give Noah some cheekbones, and you can kind of see I didn't do that with his nose, as you can kind of see from the inside. That is like a ball of clay that I, slip and scored to attach and then smoothed out the joints. And also, I'm not sure, like this one I was kind of like, well, his nose is poking out. Do I put, because in the cartoons I put a little line under to indicate his nose. And I did do that here, but I'm not entirely happy with how it looks, because if you go from the side, it looks weird. From the front, it's okay. Anyway, so in the future, sculptural stuff, I'm not outlining like that. But anyway, so we have Noah. I envisioned him with fluffier hair, but I ran out of clay, and I ran out of time, and I ran out of give a damn. So I just painted his hair. But otherwise, other than the pushing out from the inside for his cheeks and adding the nose, it's the same process as before. So And by the way, this is the clay for all of these is Laguna B mix, so that's the natural color of the clay. It's just a little off-white. So then for eyes and teeth, I paint a little bit of white. For, well, like with the wings too, here you can kind of see on Ricky, the wings are painted white. He isn't. His teeth are painted white. On this one, I don't know if I put a little white by his eyes. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Let me zoom in so we can... Well, let me bring this up. Can you kind of see? Oh, it kind of looks like I might have put a touch of white by his eyes. But I know on other pieces I have, but this one I'm not sure. Maybe I did. But anyway, so we got Noah. He's a little weird looking in mug form. I tried to give him a cleft chin, but it's kind of at the bottom, so it didn't work so well. And then his ears, his hair. Like I said, the sculpt, or the sketch would have had hair coming out like that, but, you know. It didn't end up happening, but we have his multi-dimensional color with his gray streaks and, you know, a few different shades of brown. And then we are back here. And for the inside, I just mixed up the browns and some pinks that give them a kind of a internal brain goo color. So, yeah, this one is, you know what I said about not being great about attaching the bottoms? Oh, there's this, yeah, you can see. This is cracked. It came apart. So that's the bottom, that's the top. They didn't quite stick. But again, these are for pencils, not for liquids. So I wasn't too worried about that. But if you were doing this, also you can, if you can kind of tell, this is like bowed in. But yeah, I am not a production potter, so I don't worry about that. Again, he has paintbrushes coming out of his head. That's his fate. So, moving on, I have a couple that I did in the same session. Now, one of these, it was for Halloween, and the idea was to kind of make, you know, like monster cups, but I didn't feel inspired for monsters. So what did I do? Ricky, but he's made out of cheese. He kind of looks a little like Frankenstein. Cheezenstein. And you can tell he really has that, that divot cheese texture throughout. And he's kind of painted, so we start here with his hair and his whiskers, go through his face. He is one with the cheese. He's possibly had too many of the mushrooms, and then therefore he thinks he is a block of cheese. We go back here, he's got some swirls in the back of his brain. And then inside I did something a little more interesting because I had black left over. I did his some swirls and dots and kind of outlined some of the divots. If I come in closer, yeah, you can kind of see that they're a little 3D. Hopefully that's in focus. So I outlined some of those and did a little bullseye in the bottom. So again, this lives on one of my desks. It has pens in it. It's not actually cracked on the bottom though, so, and this is just the underglaze with no actual glaze, although you can tell by the marks that he was sitting on what they call a cookie, which is like a flat little dish of ceramic that has metal pins on top. So that way if you did have glaze, I should do this back here so it's in camera. If you did have glaze and it's sitting on a cookie, it's not like going to stick to the kiln shelf. It would just, you know. But this didn't, this one didn't drip any glaze anyways, so there you go. And we are down to the final two. I did scroll my Instagram to see if I was missing any of these. I don't think I am. So, if not, well, there will be a future video. So the next one, this is supposed to be a version of coil building. I hate coil building. That's my little secret. I find them really awkward. Some people, as my instructor said, people either love coil building or they completely hate it. I hate it. We were doing it actually, like, instead of making the round ropes of clay to build coils, we were doing similar with slabs. So I think there were like 3 slabs to make this, and very narrow bottom. I think we started building this inside a form, if I'm not mistaken. But I took it out, and and what we did, instead of doing the slip and score, you're like smearing down in between. And you do that with you have to have like a really soft clay where it's gonna kind of goop together as opposed to, yeah. Anyways, so we got Myles again. Myles is not looking so happy this time. He doesn't have earrings anymore, so that's good. But Myles, I guess, is kind of expressing how I feel about making coil pots. This lives on my main desk, and it is absolutely stuffed with like scissors and pens and stuff. Pardon me for this sniffling. It's apparently the West Coast. My brother lives in Calgary now, and he came out to visit last month, and he made the comment, he's like, it's so moist out here. I'm like, really? Vancouver Island, like Vancouver proper is definitely humid, but I didn't think it was that bad here. But anyways, when we went back to Calgary, like when he was here, his nose was stuffed up. It like took a week when he got back to Calgary to, we'll just say, clear it out. I'll spare you the gross details. Me, I haven't been to Calgary in years, so my sinuses never clear out. Sorry. It's annoying, but like I said, I try to not, like, other than that one for demonstration purposes, I try to not do that when I'm talking on camera. Anyway, so again, we got the building process was different because, as I said, we were doing, multiple kind of strips in a slab building type style. And then I kind of went with the misshapenness of the vessel. Put Myles on here, his tail kind of goes up. His tail's wiggling, which is funny, because apparently rats, and I don't know about mice, but definitely rats kind of wag their tails almost when they're happy. He don't look happy. But, maybe... What was the famous line? I don't know how famous it was, but if you ever used to watch Ren and Stimpy, there's the episode where Stimpy's trying to make Ren happy. He builds like this mind control helmet to put on Ren's head to force Ren to be happy, and Ren's all pissed off, and then he finally manages to smash the thing off, and he's like beating the crap out of Stimpy, and then Stimpy says, whatever, I forget the exact line, but Ren suddenly says, you're down tootin', I'm angry. And then he says, I like being angry. And Ren's like, or Stimpy's kind of like shocked, but he's like, happy to be of service. Because he wanted Ren to be happy. Ren is happy being angry and beating the crap out of Stimpy. So anyways, point is, maybe Myles is a little like that, and he likes being happy, and that's why his tail's wiggling. Anyways, so we got his little face. You can see a couple spots where I smudged accidentally. Well, maybe you can't. Maybe I'll, if I come in, you can see some spots of the turn. But anyways, so we got him there. He's got little veins poking out of his neck. He's so mad. But that's kind of, well, it's not always who Myles is, but it's often who Myles is. And we're going to scroll around. Yes, we go. And the real reason... Well, maybe this is why his tail's wagging. Money! He loves money! So we got a heart with money. That was just kind of... Oh no, I did actually scrape that in. Again, I don't know how well that picks up in the camera, but I can kind of see the marks. So I did scrape that in when it was greenware, not just paint it. Again, you can see lots of the cheese texture, because the vessel was already kind of misshapen, and I think I was in some kind of a mood, so I'm like, I'm not going to try and make this smooth and nice. We're just going to go with it. So it's a bit of a misshapen vessel. It's what I'm saying. It's a lot of a misshapen vessel. And then on the inside, because I think I painted, these were from the same session. So I think I painted them on the same night. Last night of the session's always the painting night, right? Although if you finish stuff early in earlier sessions and you have bisqueware, you can paint it in advance. The session that we just finished, I had painted just about everything in advance except for a small bust of Noah. So I was done painting halfway through the night, just sat there and chatted with my pals the rest of the night. But sometimes I'm like right down to the last minute. So I think these were probably painted the same night. So I kind of did something similar. I just had black left over, so I painted a bunch of black dots on the inside, so it gives a bit of a cheetah pattern, which is kind of neat. And I do, at the time, I think I wasn't thrilled about not being able to make the top even, but I kind of like it now. I can put some shorter stuff in there, but, you know, I like the kind of arrow pointing at Myles, and I managed to do the cartoon so his ears kind of straddled and whatnot. Was all that? Yeah, that was probably everything I was just pointing to was probably in like the shadow, the glare of the light. But anyways, you can see where that top line is. So that's one of them. We are down to the last one for now. And this was not done in the current session that I just finished, but I think it was done in January. It's just 24, so it was done in the fall. Right, we've been doing some other stuff other than mugs this time around. So, anyways, this is Noah's mother, Hrefna Thorsen. And she's originally from Greenland. Her dad was a mining engineer working up there back in like the 50s or whatever. And then her dad got a job in Flin Flon, Manitoba. So then she had to move to Flin Flon. But she is not a fan of the cold, so she long ago, even when Noah was a little kid, she would be going down and spending a lot of time in Florida. And now she lives in Florida permanently. And, well, you know what they have in Florida, right? Gators! Now, there's some evidence. Well, actually, we've discussed this not on the video, but in the comics it was discussed at, I think it was the beginning of 2024. There was a whole cartoon run about Noah learns Hrefna's secrets. The gators are not pets. She's running an illegal poaching operation out of her backyard. So, anyways, Hrefna's quite the character. But when the gators get out of line, she just whacks them with her broom. So there she is, shaking her fist. She got her broom, yelling, "Shoo! Bad gator!" He's probably been chasing her pool boys again. So, anyways, and kind of like I talked about before, a bit of a watercolor effect of using not as many coats. Well, that one, there's probably one coat, and that's two, to get the different color effects. And, yeah, there's one of the gators mouthing off. But, of course, the way it works, you start here, and she's chasing the gator, but, of course, you go around the mug, and the gator's chasing her. So, yeah, and on the inside, it's green. I did put a little bit of brush marky stuff at the bottom, but kind of a gator green with the leftover colors I had from this. So that is the most recent. It's also the shortest mug. Yeah. Well, okay. Guess it depends what side of the Ricky mug. This one's slightly shorter, this side's slightly taller. But there you go, and I'm just going to line them all up. If I zoom out, I may have to move the camera back. Yes, I do. Pardon the noise and thunking. There you go. So there you have it. There are six of the mugs, pencil holders, more properly, that I have made in my ceramics class. So what I like doing with these, this is just kind of a fun way to think about the characters in a slightly different form. In some future Sunday show and share video, I will show you some of the little busts I've started making. So far, I've made Noah. Actually, I've made a bust of Noah twice. I've made Noah's daughter Ursula. I've made Ricky's boss, Big Mike. I have one of Myles. And I have a second Noah as well. Yeah. Anyways, I have two Noahs. One is brand new. One was done a few months ago. Ursula, Big Mike, Myles. I have another little sculpture that isn't a bust. Like when I say bust, I mean like shoulders, sort of mid chest up, and head and shoulders. I have an actual sculpt of Myles, like full body, but it's actually a little jar. You can take them apart. It doesn't quite fit together properly, but that's my fault. And I plan to make more of these in upcoming ceramics classes. There's supposed to be one starting on Tuesday, but I also heard the registration might not be quite enough to run it, and then the summer is taken off. So we'll see. I may have a couple more busts in a month or so. So that would probably make sense to do a show and tell showing all of them. Or if the class doesn't end up running, then I'll probably just do one sometime next month or later this month showing all the ones that I've got done so far. And then we'll come back to it at a later date. So, anyways, hope you've enjoyed this little Sunday show and tell video. And I'm not going to promise that there's going to be one next week, actually, because next week it's going to be kind of a crappy week. Actually, I have to have a tooth pulled, so who knows? Maybe I'll be fine to talk and film on Saturday afternoon next week, or maybe I'll just be like feeling sorry for myself and miserable and not talking, in which case then it'll be 2 weeks. But soonish there will be a new show and tell, and maybe on that one I'll show some of the monotype prints I've done. I know I've shown in the past, like 2023, I did a video showing pastel drawings I've done. Not sure if I've shown, I think I've shown some of the watercolors I've done. But anyways, I'll find a small grouping of 5 to 6 items. Or if I can find a sketchbook that's kind of ready to show that soonish. And like I said, the intention is to eventually do one of these videos a week. I'm just not going to make any promises about that right now. Oh, I just realized, I did the lineup and how could I? I forgot Noah. I'm never going to be forgiven, Noah. Noah does not like being forgotten. Noah is very jealous about the rats. Started doing some cartoons, not really as part of Noah's Archipelago or the Ricky cartoons, but just my own little sketches for amusement that I do sometimes post online. And it's like, in the cartoon universe, i.e. in my brain, Ricky lives right next to Noah, and Noah cannot stand Ricky. So, anyways, that's a whole other situation, and kind of hints at a whole other project that, at this point, probably won't happen for at least a year. But, yes, we can't forget Noah, the original. Anyways, thanks for watching. Talk at you. Not next week, maybe. I don't know. Possibly. Talk at you soon. Bye.